Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with Week 12, aka Thanksgiving Week. Last week, another okay week. I went 9-5, which brings a total season of 164. Now, this is actually one of my favorite weeks of the year in any season because it's Thanksgiving week. No, not a lot of teams are on bye weeks, and yeah, this week just feels awesome, and it's not have nothing to do with the Thanksgiving Day itself. So that's why for this year, you'll see a bunch of throwback teams instead of the regular logos for the predictions. I'm not saying these teams are wearing these throwbacks, but it is just give it Thanksgiving week gives us a whole classic feel to the NFL season. That's all I'll say. And we're going to start this week off with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions. That'll be the first of 3-day games on Thanksgiving. The Lions are 8-2. The last time the Lions started off 8-2, people of color could not walk into a restaurant. Yes, let that sink in. For Green Bay, they won last week against the Chargers. They came from behind to do it, and Jordan Love, back-to-back weeks of him having a pretty good game. Now, the last time we saw these two teams was ironically on Thursday Night Football, making this the first rivalry to ever have to have both their games played on a Thursday in a season, in which the Lions they pretty much dominated the Packers in that game. I think in this one, I am believing in the Detroit Lions this week, and that's because they're clicking on, even though they got off to a shaky start against the Bears and rallied, they're 8-2. They're feeling great about themselves. They could have possibly a winning record entering into next week, and the Lions will be one step closer in winning the NFC North. From the NFC North to the NFC East, we have the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Washington Commanders. The Cowboys, they basically took care of the Carolina Panthers, sacked Bryce Young 7 times, Deron Bland yet another pick 6, whoop-de-doo. But the Commanders swept by the Giants, and as clear as day is Ron Rivera, he pretty much knows he's out the door. And given that this game is at Dallas, and Dallas have been very Superman at home, even against an inferior opponent, I am going to roll with the Dallas Cowboys to win, possibly dominate this game. And the Commanders, y'all just be one step closer into firing Ron Rivera. Then we have the the Thursday night game, the final of the 3 Thanksgiving games from the NFC East to the NFC West. We have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. 49ers took care of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a little closer than what I thought, but a win's a win. And the Seattle Seahawks coming off a season sweep of the Los Angeles Rams, in which Geno Smith, he did hurt his elbow. I don't know. I currently don't know his status. The Seahawks will not have Kenneth Walker for the game for this week. So that's going to make things a lot harder for Seattle's offense. I know this game is being played in Seattle, but the 49ers, they're on a bit of a hot. I think they're start getting on their hot streak. Yes, they lost one of their best safeties to a torn ACL. Best recover soon. Have a safe and well received recovery. But the 49ers, they're about to hit their stride in the season. So I'm taking the 49ers. And then we have, before we get to Sunday's game, for the first time ever, we have Black Friday football, in which the Miami Dolphins will travel to New York to take on the Jets. The Dolphins took care of the Raiders, but it was mostly thanks to their defense of all things. Jalen Ramsey He's proven to be the perfect find for the Miami Dolphins on that side of the football. Meanwhile, for the Jets, they got destroyed by the Bills. Zach Wilson was benched. He's been now regulated to third string quarterback. Tim Boyle will be starting this game, and the backup will be Trevor Siemian. Yeah, I'm not feeling too good about the Jets quarterback's options either. And because of those two things, keeping it simple, I am taking the Miami Dolphins to win. But then again, part of me won't be surprised if the Jets pull it off. Just saying. And now we're on to the Sunday portion of this video. We have the New Orleans Saints taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Both teams are coming off a bye week, and both teams coming off of strange losses. For the Saints, last time we saw them, they lost to, let me see, they lost to somebody. I can't remember who it was. It'll come to me in a second. But the Falcons became the second team to lose to the Arizona Cardinals. And Arthur Smith, even though they're saying he's going to be the coach in 2024, I don't think the fans should be feeling good about where the Falcons are at. And so, yeah, this one is a bit of a toss-up for me. I don't know who I'm going to choose at this moment. But I do think the Saints are the better team. I am going to take them to win this particular game. And I just remember who the Saints lost to last time. And it was the Minnesota Vikings, by the way. And Michael Thomas is back home on injured reserve. Following that, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. The Bengals, they lost swept by the Ravens, and they lost Joe Burrow for the rest of the season with a hand injury. Meanwhile, for the Steelers, they had a chance to beat the Cleveland Browns, but they lost 13-10 to them. But I think that loss ended up turning into a victory because they fired Matt Canada. The bad man is gone for the Steelers. Now for the Steelers, can they tell Kenny Pickett not to miss all these easy throws? So for this game, I actually can't see, even though I can't see Cincinnati winning, I think without Joe Burrow, it's going to show. I am going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this one. And for Zach Browning, it's not going to be a fun day for you. Following that, we have the Carolina Panthers taking on the Tennessee Titans. I almost said Houston Oilers there. Where the Titans, okay, the Will Levis midnight hour or Cinderella moment has kind of faded as they entered another 3 losses in a row now. This time losing to Jacksonville. Meanwhile, Carolina, they just find a bad team finds a way to look worse each and every single week. And for this game, both of these teams aren't good. This is possibly a possible tank bowl, maybe. And you know what? Screw it. I'm going to take the Panthers to win. I have no confidence in it. But they got to get a second win at some point. Right? Following that, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Buccaneers finally ended their losing streak. They had a good win last week against those Tennessee Titans. Meanwhile, the Indianapolis Colts are coming off a bye week. Last time we saw them, they were in London, and they barely beat the New England Patriots. But hey, a win's a win. But this all comes on the heels of the shocking release of Darius Shaquille Leonard, who was cut surprisingly this week. I don't know if it was injury related. I don't know what was behind the decision, but that is very, very odd for them to happen. But as for this game, this is another toss-up. I think this is a must-win game for both teams. I am going to go ahead and take the Indianapolis Colts since they are at home. But I will not be surprised if Tampa Bay wins this game. Oh boy. I thought that Panthers Titan game was a tank bowl. This is an ultimate tank bowl. The New England Patriots traveling to New York to take on the Giants. But hey, Giants got a win last week. Albeit it was against the Commanders, but hey, they got a win. Tommy DeVito actually looked pretty good. They let him throw the football for a change. Meanwhile, for the Patriots, yeah, they're the worst team in the AFC. Losing to the Colts, there's pretty much no answers going on for that team. But in this game, oh boy, this is gonna be the game of our times. The greatest game man ever played. I am gonna go ahead and give the slightest of edge on New England, just on a defensive tier. I think this is going to be a defensive game. I'm not expecting a lot of points. I am rolling, but I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Patriots to win. And then we have the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. The Jaguars got an easy win over the Tennessee Titans. The offense looked kind of back to normal, whoop-de-doo. But the Texans, who are the only team that still has their first logo, they got a win over the Arizona Cardinals. It was a close win, but a win's a win. Now these two teams have played each other week 3, where it was a bit of a coming out party for C.J. Stroud. He looked very well in that week 3 game, and they went on the road and beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do I think the same thing could happen here? I mean, the Texans, they are at home. I mean, and I do like Jacksonville. Jacksonville, they're still my favorite to win the division. But you know what? I am going to take the Houston Texans to win because they're pretty hot right now, and it's hard to cool off a hot team. And then we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, 4 wins in a row, as they got a Sunday night win over the Minnesota Vikings. It was a bit of a thrilling win at that. And Russell Wilson, he looks kind of back to normal, maybe. But as for Cleveland, they also had a pretty good week themselves, getting a win over the division rival Pittsburgh Steelers, led by Dorian Thompson-Robinson. It wasn't a high-scoring game, but it was a game. But for this one, I don't expect a lot of scoring in this one. I know Broncos defense struggled in the beginning of the season, but I think they're now beginning to figure things out. But in this game, I was a bit torn on this one. Should I go with the hot team or the team with the elite defense? I'm going to go with the team with the elite defense to win. So I'm going to roll with the Cleveland Browns and Myles Garrett. Following that, we have the Los Angeles Rams traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. The Rams come from behind and beat the Seattle Seahawks, completing the season sweep, basically saving their season. As for the Cardinals, they had a bit of a rust loss against the Houston Texans. And this one's another toss-up game. It's more of a toss-up than you think. I almost lean toward part of me want to lean towards the Rams, but I'm thinking upset. And basically my upset of the week, I'm going to roll with the Arizona Cardinals to win. Following that, we have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, they suffered the first loss in the Antonio Pierce era to the Miami Dolphins, but they did keep it close. I am seeing the fight. Meanwhile, for the Chiefs, another second half collapse, and this time it resulted in an L. And it's shocking to believe that this team has not scored a second half touchdown since I think week 7 was the last time it happened. Yep, they did not look good in the second half. The receivers, their hands are just for decoration. Kelce, he's pretty much addicted to being a celebrity than actually being an actual tight end. And the Chiefs, they better be glad they're in the AFC West. That's all I'll say. I do think this is a get-right game for them. I am going to take the Chiefs to win on the road to bounce back. and hopefully they can figure out the kinks of their offense. And side note, Matt Nagy could be holding back this offense like he did in Chicago. Just saying. And speaking of teams defeating the Chiefs, we have the Buffalo Bills traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. The Eagles just can't lose. They come from behind and get their revenge against the Kansas City Chiefs. It was an ugly first half from a play, ugly first 3 quarters, if you ask me, from a play calling standard for the Philadelphia Eagles. But they got it right in the fourth. Meanwhile, the Bills, they bounced back and got a win over the Jets. Whoop-de-doo. But I'm going to keep this one brief, given all the defensive injuries that the Bills are having, and given the fact that the Eagles, I feel like they're getting benefactor with winning in spite of themselves, not throwing shade, but still. I am going to take the Eagles to win. As much as I want to take the Bills, I got to roll with the Eagles. And I hate to admit it, that they are the best team in the league. And then we have Sunday Night Football. More interesting game than you think, but it's going to be interesting. The Baltimore Ravens taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers found another way to charge themselves out of a game, this time on the road against Green Bay. Quentin Johnson, if you recall, he dropped a huge pass that could have put the Chargers in field goal range, and then which that resulted in a batted down 4th down pass. Brandon Staley getting very defensive in that press conference. And his little press conference showed me that that's a sign of a coach who's about to be fired very soon. Meanwhile, for the Ravens, they had coming off a very long Thursday night win over the Cincinnati Bengals. It did cost them Mark Andrews. He's gone for the year. But it was a good win. It was a get-right game for them after blowing it 2 weeks ago against the Browns. I think, you know what, thinking about it, this game is more of a choke bowl than you think. Because both teams have, most of their losses this year, they all come from 4th quarter collapses. So, I think whoever wins this game, have the ball last is going to win this game. But I'm going to opt for better coaching. I am going to roll with the Baltimore Ravens to win this game. And Chargers, you're just one step closer into firing Brandon Staley. And last but not least, we have Monday Night Football, where the Minnesota Vikings will host the Chicago Bears. The Vikings, okay, they suffered their first loss pretty much in a while to the Denver Broncos. Dobbs although he was a bit efficient, he did have some pretty crucial turnovers in that game, which gave them a loss. Meanwhile, for the Bears, first game against Justin Fields, they had a double-digit lead at one point against the Detroit Lions that they proceeded to blow in the 4th quarter. So I think this game, matter of fact, these two teams have played each other already. Vikings won it in a low-scoring affair. And because Vikings lost, could we see Justin Jefferson return? He made a statement saying he's not going to rush the process of him returning. So I'm going to, in this game, it's more toss-up than what you think. I actually can't see Chicago winning it, but I am going to roll with the Minnesota Vikings. They're at home. It's Monday Night Football. I'm taking Josh Dobbs over Justin Fields in this week. So tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.